Life of Matt Hardy, presented to you exclusively by Podcast Heat and adfreeshows.com. I, of course, am Jon Alba, joined as I am every single week by the woken one, the broken one, the spoken one, Mr. Matt Hardy. Matt, what's up, brother? How you doing?
MMH. I'm good, man.
See, Seth Rollins did that at Extreme Rules. He did the little RVD.
I read about that. I saw that online.
Yeah, he had the whole spray painted singlet, or an homage, if you will. Dude, you know, right. Big RVD mark, so I'm all about that stuff. And
yeah.
You ever take a real nice snug kick from RVD?
Many a time. I'll be honest. A lot of times when me and RVD worked, it ended up being like a potato fest. It seemed like that. It was very, like if he gets aggressive, that just makes me more aggressive too. We've had quite a few.
You like that style?
I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Nowadays, as I'm a little older, I like working. I like working solid. I don't like working super stiff though.
That's fair.
RVD, especially when he first came in, people were like, "Oh my God, I don't. RVD's going to kick the shit out of me." He would lay them in. But I love Rob and I love working with him. I work with him every day of the week.
Well, Matt, it has been one hell of a week here in the world of the extreme life of Matt Hardy and the life of Matt Hardy, for sure. Before we dive into any of that, I want to remind all you guys off the bat, we announced it last week in the middle of the episode, but I want to put it right at the front here. Matt Hardy and I are coming to you live at WrestleCade this year, November 27th, for a live edition of the podcast, a reunion of Omega. And there are going to be a lot of big-time Omega stars there from back of the day, including your boy Thomas Simpson. I know he can't wait. What can people look forward to with this, Matt Hardy?
Well, my name is Thomas Simpson, and I am very happy to be making my debut on the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy. That's Thomas Simpson, man, my Southern Belle. Thomas is great people, man. Huge supporter of the podcast. And he was the guy that really helped us take Omega to the next level because he actually had money. He wasn't broke kids like the rest of us. He actually had money and he was able to invest in us. So it's going to be so much fun. And thank you, Thomas, for being you and always supporting this podcast too.
Yes. WrestleCade.com/tickets. You can get your tickets for individual days and for the entire weekend if you would like. There's going to be signings there. It's going to be a really, really fun weekend. Again, man, on the Sunday morning, after your boy George South holds a service, because that's his thing, we are going to be doing a live show. I know seeing George South probably popped you in the video last week, didn't it?
I did. I always... Every time I see George South on an indie show, he always takes a picture with me. He said, "Come on, brother, I got to get an updated picture." He said, "What else am I going to sell at my table, brother?" What a hustler, man. But George is great, man. I love seeing George. I love being at a show and interacting with George nowadays. That he's the best. It popped me so huge when he said, "I must love you, brother, if I stepped away from my gimmick table for a couple minutes to do this," which popped me huge.
There were a lot of great cameos. And now that you've had a week to kind of sit and take it in, and I know you've heard so much outpouring of support from all the fans around there, is there anything you'd like to say about all that 30th anniversary stuff?
I mean, it's just all been so incredible. I want to once again say it here. I've tried to thank everyone personally, but I want to thank everyone that appeared in the cameo video, in the cameo celebration of the anniversary video. And I want to thank you, John, and the team for getting this because, dude, it took a lot of effort and a lot of hard work. So thank you so much for doing
Absolutely.
That. And then I just want to thank wrestling fans around the world because I've said this since day one. Without all of you, there would be no me. I mean, Jeff and I, we've always believed that since day one. So thank you guys for supporting me for 30 years. 3 decades is a long time, and still hanging on and enjoying the ride. And thank you guys for taking this long ride with me.
If you'd like to see some Extreme Life of Matt Hardy bonus content, you can head over to the House Hardy Twitch stream, where Matt and Rebby did a watch-along of the 30 years of anniversary video with Rebby on commentary. And boy, that is worth your 26-minute watch once again in and of itself. I promise you that.
Oh boy, there is no one more entertaining than my Boricua, man. Rebecca Hardy, Queen Rebecca, going nuts out there. Her reactions are just so genuine and so real and so truculent. That's my favorite word for her, truculent. But yeah, it was super entertaining. I'm so glad I was able to watch it along with her for the very first time, and we watched it live on stream. I'm so glad we were able to capture all her reactions.
It was awesome. House Hardy on Twitch. Go subscribe if you haven't already. Revy does a great job there on Twitch. She does a great job on TikTok, the Gothic Mother, if you will.
Yeah.
It's definitely her gimmick. She's got that going there.
The Gothic baby is over.
Oh, big time. Big time. The Gothic baby's over. And I enjoyed her appearance in the video as well. Now, I got to bring this up to you, buddy. The firm. They kind of own your contract. That's
they don't kind of own my contract. They own.
Yeah. That wasn't great.
So it's going to be a very interesting week of TV.
Yeah.
I really don't know what to expect, in all honesty. The one thing I can say is that Matt Hardy, whether he is Matt Hardy, one half of the Hardy Boys, whether he is Matt Hardy, the first version, whether he is Broken Matt, or whether he is Big Money Matt, he may be broken, but he'll never be broke. So, like, if push comes to shove, I don't have to work at AEW. And there are other places I could work. So we're just going to see how hard the firm tries to push me. And I guess we'll just see if it's possible, if we can coexist in some way. I don't know. Maybe I can turn all these guys baby faces. You think that's a possibility?
Well, we saw Stokely Hathaway take to Twitter. You went viral twice this week. You went viral for your video, and then you went viral for another video in response to Stokely Hathaway, who he does this little thing on Twitter where he likes to act a little holier than thou with some people and his street cred. And he had a little bit of an initiation test to see if you'd fit in with the culture. And what your boy Stokely didn't know is that Matt Hardy loves the culture.
Indeed. I got a letter from the government the other day. I opened and read it. It said they were suckers. I think I'm only going to respond to Stokely in rap lyrics.
Okay.
I think that's going to be my new thing with Stokely. Yeah, that was fun. And that is a legitimate, real, everything I posted about that video was real. And obviously I did it in fun because he, posted this list and tried to pull out my culture card, to see how well versed I was in culture. And when I was 17 years old, first name Sham, last name Payne, he was a rapper, and I was a huge rap fan at that time, obviously. And he said, there's this contest, a rap contest is going on. And Black Sheep was initially supposed to be there. And I was a big Black Sheep fan at the time. They were only branded as being from New York, but they were from Sanford. That's where their family and their roots were from. But, back in the day in 1991, you had to be from New York or LA to be a big rapper, right? You couldn't be from a small podunk town. So we went to this joint where Black Sheep was supposed to be. They didn't show up, but there was a rap contest, and we went ahead and got in the rap contest. As you can see, this people think this is breakthrough material that Isaiah is putting a do-rag on my head. I was wearing a do-rag, a little bandana in that video. I was rocking the Zubaz. I pulled my shirt off to a pretty good pop. And it's so funny. My wife kept asking me, why did you take your shirt off? Why did you take your shirt off when we were so video? I said, I was pretty happy with how I looked at the time. I was working out pretty hard.
What's so funny is, Matt, people didn't even realize that was Jeff dancing.
Yeah, I know. And still, one of my favorite things is just how he had the tag on his hat. And he would do that. He would buy hats. He'd go, no, he's checking out, right? And no, don't take the tag off. I want the tag on. I want the tag on. That was his thing. That was in.
And that was Vanilla Ice inspired?
The dance was definitely Vanilla Ice inspired. The way Jeff cut his hair initially was modeled after Vanilla Ice. The way he danced was modeled after Vanilla Ice. And then obviously there were a lot of black dancers too that he kind of modeled himself after. Vanilla Ice was a huge influence. He's like, hold up, like I kind of feel like this. And if Vanilla Ice is a white dude doing this stuff, then I should be able to do it too. I'm pretty sure that's how Jeff felt.
I'm admittedly not a huge rap hip hop fan. You say Vanilla Ice, and I just say stop collaborating. Listen, Ice is back with a brand new edition. Something grabs a hold of me tightly, full like a harpoon, daily and nightly. Will never stop. I don't know. Turn off the lights, let it glow to the extreme. Rock a mic like a vandal, light up a stage, wax a chump like a candle. Just in the event that I'm ready to whip that out, I can
it.
my card there, Matt
I
Hardy.
like
That's
I like it. But
it
yeah,
was great,
man,
man.
it was a lot. And I don't know. I mean, I've always been like that. Like, true story. Like, from when I was 5 years old, my dad was a farmer. And
Mhm.
before he went full time with the postal service, and he was a full-time mailman. He was a substitute guy, and he ran the mail route every 2 weeks. So he had to do something to, supplement his income, obviously. And he farmed, and we raised tobacco since I was 5 years old. I was 5 years old putting sticks on the stringer, as tobacco was coming through. And then as I got older, I did bigger jobs. I would like put tobacco on the stringer. I know you don't know any of this terminology, but the people who do, they do. I would drive the tractor, and I primed tobacco, and I primed tobacco with all black people and Hispanic people, So I remember hearing them rap while they were working. I thought it was like cool as shit. And then I also remember hearing, it was Mexican people, and the Mexican people would actually be doing Spanish. I was like, "Oh, can you teach me Spanish?" And my dad's like, "I don't know. All I know is English, boy." I thought it was so cool that there was another language that they could communicate.
Right.
And then it's funny. My wife later said, she said, "Oh, so you being in the back of being around all those people, that's probably why you ended up marrying me, huh?" Which you got a big pop.
Yeah, it's true, because where you grew up, it's not like there was an opportunity for you to be assimilated into diversity, right? Like, that wasn't really consciously something that could happen there. So that's your real world experience that you came up with.
Yeah,
and,
I mean, but look at I look back on those moments fondly too, and I'm so
right.
glad. I'm so glad I got that diversity right from the jump.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, it allowed you to do two things. Number one, it allowed you to say no to Vince McMahon with his idea of Mattitude being oppressed that we talked about on episode 1 or 2 of this podcast, I believe.
Yeah.
And number two, if you've been listening to the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy, you're not surprised by this. Matt Hardy used to go one-on-one with John Cena in the back of the tour buses, laying down freestyles. So that's inherent to you. And I'm throwing this into the universe to manifest it, Matt Hardy.
I like it already.
Should one day Matt Hardy and Private Party earn their contracts away from the firm, and should Private Party decide to go after the Acclaim's Tag Team Championship, maybe they got a call to the bullpen to take on Max Caster one-on-one.
We'd have a little fun with that.
Think maybe a 6-man tag, Daddy Ass and the Acclaimed versus Matt Hardy and Private Party. Yeah. And
Daddy Ass versus Matty Ass.
There you go, Scissor Me Matty Ass.
There you have it.
Who would have thought? Daddy Ass looked good in the ring the other day, last week against Swerve.
He always looks good, man. Billy Gunn is ageless and timeless.
No doubt. All right, Matt Hardy, we pivoted this week. We are doing Ask Matt Anything. Let's get your Matt. Let's try that again. 1, 2, 3. Your Matt fact in.
Matt fact: Matt coughs when he swabs his left ear.
That is among the most oddly specific Matt facts I've ever heard.
It is, and I thought about using that one forever, even back in the day when I was first doing the whole gimmick. I was thinking about doing that. Whenever I clean my ears, without fail, it's just there's something in there. It's almost like when they hit the bottom of your knee and your reflex kicks your leg up. Like, I will cough every time I put a Q-tip into my left ear, without fail.
You find that spot on a dog, you're rubbing them, they start kicking their leg off.
Yeah, I got that spot, man, somewhere deep in my ear. Maybe I touched my brain.
All right, we had so many great questions, and I don't want to waste any more time, so let's do it. Let's start with our boy, a wrestling historian. He says, any update on a second book?
No real update to express, but I have started jotting down stories from the past. Whenever they come to my mind, I'm starting to collect notes so that whenever the time is right to do a book, I will have some stuff ready in advance.
And the beauty is, this podcast is almost like a long form book in and of itself for you.
Yeah, these events have been documented, which is a great thing, and this will be something that will make it easy to look back and kind of do some research on my stories.
Certainly so. We've got Ringside Rant, our pal RJ, who's the host of Repping It Up with your boy Brian Hebner.
Okay.
He says, in your opinion, how critical is the referee in a match?
A referee is very important, especially if it is a match that relies on the referee in a very specific role. The more legit a referee can look, It is great. If there's time, the referee needs to be put into a spot where he shouldn't see something or he should see something. That is crucial, and it can like make or break a match. So yeah, the referee, you know, if you're just having a match where a guy has to count to 1, 2, 3, he's not as essential. But if there's a role in a match where the referee is doing something that's very important, it's paramount that he hits it, or if not, it can totally affect the whole match.
When Brian came up in the video last week, you threw up a V1. So that tells me there's a story there somewhere.
Yeah.
What's the background?
There was a time where guys were drinking after a show. Michael Hayes was there, and Michael Hayes was tuned in. He was there. He was at that temperature that he needed to be at, right? That he wanted to be at.
He was Beowulf at that point?
Yes. It was a full moon, and he had made the metamorphosis into Beowulf. And Brian Hebner was feeling pretty good, and he was doing all that. And Michael was being classic Michael, and he was just shit talking Brian Hebner the whole while. Da, 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 da. He said, "Look at you. You think you're hot shit because you're a Hebner. Who do you think you are? Who do you think you are?" And I was doing V1 at the time, right? And he came up to Michael and put a V1 in his face. He said, "I'm V1 now!" And then he ran off. And then he would hide behind Michael, and then Michael would try and look for him and find him. And he'd go and he'd put his finger in his face again. "I'm V1 now!" And he would run off. So that's the story that is like embedded in my mind whenever I think of Brian Hebner. Him continuing to put a V1 up in Michael Hayes' face, and Michael couldn't catch him all night. I mean, it happened for like an hour.
I was wondering that because in my preparation for that video, Mike Chioda and I were going back and forth, and he had a lot of good pictures that I passed a couple of them along. He was the one that sent me the one of he and Jeff, where they are just having a good time in a pool somewhere in Mexico, looked like.
Just in their element.
In their element. But he sent me one of you guys on a tour in Japan, and it probably would have been around 2003. And Brian Hebner is behind you. Looks like he may have had a couple of libations. And just over your shoulder, he's just throwing up the V1.
Yeah.
So that sounds about right.
He did. I mean, he loved that whenever I was inspired to do it. I think whenever I started doing the V1 Sun, I love how the guns had gotten over. So I wanted my own thing that kind of represented me. So that's when I started doing the V1. But like I was really inspired whenever Brian Pillman would do the 4 horsemen thing and he would shove it in people's face. I thought that was so cool. So that's where I got the idea to do it. I would do that quite often as a heel, and I would shove it in people's face and then have them turn around and whip my ass. But Brian loved that whenever I would hit the V1 in people's faces. So that was his inspiration for doing that to PS that night.
He was very excited to lay down a video for your 30 years. So
Brian's great, man. He's such a good dude.
Shout out to Brian, no doubt.
Shout out to Brian Hebner. Love you, buddy.
Josh Fields says, book your dream concert experience. 3 acts. It could be past or current artists or bands. Who opens, who's in the middle, and who gets the main event spot. You can combine rock, you can combine rap, whatever you want to do, Matt Hardy. Your dream concert experience.
I think which probably are my top 3 favorite bands of all time. I would probably go with them. I would put Public Enemy in it. I would put Kings of Leon, and I would put Pearl Jam in it.
Is that the order you're doing it?
Yeah. I would put them in that order too. I'd put Public Enemy on first just to hype the crowd up. I think they would be hot, hype the crowd up right from the jump, and then I would put on Kings of Leon, and then I would put on Pearl Jam as the headliner. And it's hard to leave Tool out of that too. Tool was a big deal for me. A Perfect Circle too. Also love that project they had, but
okay.
That would be that would probably, if I had to swap another one in, it would be one of those 2 guys.
I like that. Aiden, this is a great question we got last minute. I'm so glad we're getting it in. Any advice on how to stay on the right side of your pregnant wife? I feel like you've had a little experience with this one, Matt.
Yeah. The first thing, this is a piece of advice I give in my cameos when people ask for wedding advice. And I go, and you listen very closely. I said, it's very, very simple, but it's also very complex. Happy wife, happy life. That first and foremost, that stands out. But when your wife is pregnant and she's going to be ill, and when my wife was pregnant, she'd be extremely ill. Go ahead and accept that you're going to take all the heat. You're going to take all the anger. You're going to take all the abuse. That is your deal, and you deal with it. And I think the most important part of being able to handle that scenario is just emotional stability. You have to be emotionally in control. Let them act out because they feel like shit. Their hormones are going crazy. They're physically miserable as it is. So just realize, just kind of like suck it up and swallow your pride, swallow your ego, and just stay emotionally in control. That would be my best advice.
That's such a great question, and feels like he might be asking for personal advice there. So, if you are expecting there, Aiden, congrats and good luck.
Yeah.
Brandy says, do you have any places left on your must-visit list after being able to travel the world so much?
It's a great question. There was one place that I've never been to see a very specific set of world highlights, and that would be the pyramids in Egypt. I've never been there. I would love to do that.
Okay.
And as crazy as this sounds, I've always kind of dug Russia. Obviously, it's a very weird time with Russia in the world. I would have loved to have been to Russia at some point and just say that you've been there. I think it's such the architecture is very unique and special. And I love traveling the world. I've got to see almost every place, but that would be some place. That's probably something that isn't going to happen anytime soon, unless there are some big changes. So I would say the pyramids and, like a Moscow or Russia would be cool if that was possible.
You know who's got a lot of ties in Egypt now, since you mentioned the pyramids? Ricardo Rodriguez.
Yeah. He was over there for a while.
Yeah, he's good people. Big shout out to him. I really, really enjoyed chatting with him, and he's done a great job too. He went into treatment for alcoholism, and he came out of it and is crushing it. So, big shout out to our friend Ricardo there. We got a question from Brad. This is a fun one. Just popped me when I read it. Would you take 2 shots of mustard if in turn Alba eats a soft-boiled egg in front of you? Because I hate eggs with every fiber of my body. You strongly dislike mustard. Are you doing that trade-off there, Matt?
Yeah, I'll take 4 shots of mustard if you eat the egg.
4? I don't know if I could stomach it.
Yeah. I mean, I can stomach mustard. I mean, that was my joke for the longest amount of time. I said, the reason I did so great on Fear Factor when it came to the eating challenge.
Oh my God. Oh.
I said, our single dad, who was just a farmer, a guy who worked from sun up to sundown, he cooked for us. I said, so I was used to eating shit all the time. That's my joke that I always ran with. But yeah, I have a pretty good tolerance when it comes to eating. So yeah, I could definitely take as much mustard as needed if I could get you to absorb that.
I just don't know if I could do it. I really don't know. I think the most I'd be able to push with an egg would be as if it was in a fried rice or a pad thai. It's basically chicken at that point. So I think I could deal with that. And beyond that, not so sure.
What about even fried rice?
That's what I'm saying. Fried rice or pad thai. I think I could deal with that. Yes, I think I could deal with that. It's essentially chicken at that point. Beyond that, no. I can't do it. Sorry, buddy. Bobby says, Matt, if you had been in WCW as a singles competitor during the Monday Night War, who would you have wanted to have a match with? And the same question, but with Jeff as a tag team.
Okay. That's a good question. I think I would have to go with the Macho Man, right?
I knew that was going to be your answer. Yep.
Yeah. So I mean that's a match I'd always want to have. So I'll keep referencing back to that, I'm sure. And then as far as a tag team, I think it would have been a lot of fun, personally and professionally, if myself and Jeff had got a match with Shannon and Shane of 3 count.
That. If you had a match with High Voltage to win the gimmick back,
that would have been great too. Yeah. That's a good call. Yeah,
could have gone that. WCW in the Monday Night War, it's funny. People romanticize the big main event hitters. They romanticize the cruiserweight division. They romanticize the United States Championship. The tag team division really was not great during the Monday Night War for WCW.
Yeah, I mean, when I started thinking about that, nobody jumped out, to me really. Yeah. It wasn't built around that. I mean, it was really NWO, NWO and just the top guy scene. I feel like that's kind of what drove it. And the cruiserweight title, as you said, that was hugely influential, and it never got all the credit it truly deserved, especially at that time. It's looked back at a lot more fondly, I think.
Michael Burgett asks, out of all the legendary factions there have been, which one would you have loved to have been a part of, and which version of you would we have seen in it?
Okay. I got to tell you, because they were some of my favorites growing up anyway, because it seemed very real. I heard one of my friends say this description, and it is really how I felt too. Like when I would watch NWA back in the day, NWA, WCW, especially before it became Monday Night Wars, Jim Crockett Promotions, it felt like guys, it was like your dad and their friends. Like you don't want to cross them. Like they're legit people. They'll whip your ass. They'll cut a switch off a tree and like whip your ass and beat you down. They're legit tough guys. That's how, the Jim Crockett Promotions and NWA felt right in the beginning. And then WWE was very, a whole lot of glamour and glitz. But I would say I would have loved to have had a run with the Four Horsemen as Big Money Matt and been like a different, more serious version where I'm not talking about it, but like Ric Flair and Arn and Tully, like when Luger was in there, I loved it so much. Barry Windham was so great in the Horsemen. I would probably say the Horsemen because I thought they were so amazing. And I love the Horsemen because they seemed like they were from my area too, with Rick being from Charlotte, North Carolina and whatnot. And they were kind of based out of there. So I would say a more serious, aggressive version of Big Money Matt with the Four Horsemen.
I like that. Last week in the video, it was very apparent to you that seeing The Undertaker really meant a lot to you. You got a pretty good, genuine reaction there. So, Will Curtis 999 asked, what version of The Undertaker was Matt's favorite? And if Matt could choose one other person other than Jeff to team with Broken Matt against the Brothers of Destruction, who would it be? So let's start with part one. What was your first favorite version of The Undertaker?
The original, I think. I mean, and even later on, whenever he brought that version back, and the way he did it there, I thought. I mean, that's the essence of the Undertaker. He was great when he did, the Biker Taker and Big Evil, whatnot. And I know he enjoyed it because it gave him a chance to like really be him and express his personality, which it was very similar to how he was. A lot of the true, Mark Calloway shined in that character. But I love the original version with the long chilling entrance where he takes his, I mean, that's like, it would give you chills. I loved being in the ring, whether I was teaming with him or working against him, whenever he would come out with that entrance. I mean, it was amazing. I mean, just to sit there and be in the ring and watch him come down the aisle was just, it would give you goosebumps every single time.
But what was wild about that is you mentioned he brought it back. I don't feel like he actually brought that Undertaker character back. I feel like he brought the dead man part of it and then combined his big evil working style with the dead man character. And that's what we saw in the final act of the Undertaker's career, those last 10, 12 years of it, which is insane that you can say, yeah, that was the final act of it because he just kept going and going and going.
Right.
But he got to be more himself in the ring. They got rid of the supernatural stuff in the ring, but he still embodied the supernatural character too. And I felt that was the most complete version of him that we saw.
Yeah, I mean, and I guess I was kind of trying to allude to that to a degree. Like whenever he brought it back, he did keep up like the same work rate he'd had. And you're right, they did like kind of they backed up a little bit on like the supernatural over the top stuff. And there's some stuff too. Like I did Broken Matt, so I dug the first stuff that
Sure.
Undertaker did, and I love the Papa Shango stuff too. Like I'm okay with all that. Too.
So
like,
who's teaming with Broken Matt against the Brothers of Destruction? He said it can't be Jeff. That's his question.
I'm going to say it right now. I would love to do one with Papa Shango.
Interesting.
Broken Matt and Papa Shango. Maybe Papa Shango has possessed the essence of Broken Matt, and I'm doing his bidding. We take on the Brothers.
Then there's vomiting and everything. I don't know about that. We've seen some weird stuff over the years with Papa Shango. But I know
we gave you that soft-boiled egg, and you could just look at it.
That's right.
No special effects, and it's not even supernatural shit, John.
Godfather's a good brother, isn't he?
Oh yeah, he's a great dude.
That's what I thought. All right, let's see. We got David D. Never asked about this before. I've heard you tell me a story privately about him, but thoughts on Jake the Snake Roberts? Ever since I was younger, you and him were my favorite too. So hearing about what you think of him would be cool.
I'm especially Jake when he was real hot in WWF back in the day. I loved his work, and I thought his psychology was like so good. His character work was tremendous. You very much believed what he was doing. I remember when he had that little thing when he was doing the deal with Undertaker and Ultimate Warrior, when he was doing trust me. I love that stuff so much. Trust me. And one of the funniest stories about Jake is there was a meeting. He was kind of getting a tryout, I think, to kind of half-ass work in the office. And I don't think he was where he needed to be in life. He hadn't got things in order, but he was getting this little bit of a tryout. And I remember he came out, he said, all right, guys, well, we got this and we got that. And they got you guys having a match. But yeah, just going to tell you guys, like in the meeting, they're going to hire you guys in a little while. So just hang in there and keep doing what you're doing. And I'm like, what? And we thought he was just like bullshitting us, but apparently it was true. And it's like, he wasn't supposed to say that to us either, I guess. That was in a fall of 97 or whatever. We're like, yeah, sure you are. Of course. You're just telling us that to string us along, trying to keep us happy. But he was right. In the beginning of 98, we were signed. I like Jake. I've got to interact with him some at AEW. He's not here a lot nowadays, but he's here once in a while. And it's just, he's a guy who has lived a crazy life. So he's got a lot of stories he can tell. And it's very good to see him in a good place. It's good to see him healthy and happy, as I like to say. It's my description for living a good life. So he's been through a lot of shit, man. I think he was an amazing performer, especially from a character perspective, and the fact that he didn't look like a lot of the other wrestlers did back in the day, but he was still over on the highest of levels.
I think his WrestleMania promo against Ted DiBiase is one of the greatest promos in the history of professional wrestling. And whenever I do coaching with the Monster Factory students or anything like that, I always point to that promo as like, this is one that it tells you everything that you could possibly want about a person's character, their motivation, and their end goal. And Jake really was a wizard on the mic back in the day, and I highly encourage people to go back. I get a chance to host his podcast with Diamond Dallas Page right here on the Podcast Heat Network, DDP Snake Pit. There's a story. He's an amazing storyteller, Matt.
Oh, yeah.
And there's an incredible story. We did an episode on The Undertaker a couple weeks ago. And I'll send you the actual link so you can hear him tell it. But I do want to summarize it for our audience who may not have heard it. And he's talking about traveling with Percy Pringle, Paul Bearer.
Right.
And this is back in the early 90s. They get booked in upstate New York. They get booked in. And there are honeymoon suites. You know, the big beds, the window ceilings, big bathtubs, all that stuff. Each one of them gets their own.
Right.
And the next morning, they come down, they're meeting for breakfast, and Paul Bearer comes down to Jake. He's like, oh, Jake, it was horrible. It was the worst night of my life. And Jake's like, what happened? And Paul's like, I was in the bathtub alone, drinking some champagne. I got out of the bathtub. I went over to the bed, and it was the worst thing that could happen to a single man. And Jake's like, what? What happened? He goes, or to a married man, rather. He goes, what happened? He goes, well, I looked up at the ceiling and I saw myself buck-ass naked. And I said, your wife must be one sick bitch for wanting to fuck you every single week. And just, oh my God, dude. Oh my God. Paul Bearer, Jake the Snake Roberts, stories like that. That's what these podcasts are all about.
Yeah. So. Paul Bearer was an incredible storyteller too. He would always like stir up the shit back in the day. He was very funny though. He loved the concept and the terms of the wrestler court, you know, making sure the young guys were kept in check. He would stir it up. He was funny.
I like that. Let's see. We've got a good one from Connor on the piggybacking of our 30 years of Matt Hardy episode, which is available in the archives, extremehardy.com. Congratulations on 30 years in wrestling. If you could go back in time, what match would you do again? So whether you want to do over, whether you want to re-experience it, whatever it may be, what match would you do again?
Interesting. As far as matches go, maybe there's one time there's a match we had with Head Cheese. The HARDYZ, right? And the finish was supposed to be with Steve Blackman, who we've talked about once again. Lots of love for Steve Blackman. We were doing a little deal where we were beating these guys, and I was going to end up hitting him with a moonsault body block at the very end. And like we do the spot, we go through, and he just kind of had to be there for it. And he wasn't necessarily the best one at choreographed spots. And I do the moonsault, and he just kind of sidesteps me and misses me, you know, whatever. I just look like a buffoon flying through the air because he you know, I just was depending and counting on him being there. And then I know he like picks him. He's like, oh shit, what are we gonna do? And I'd already like rolled him up in a small pack, just stay, you know, whenever the finish was happening. So that would be probably one that pops out in my mind. I really wish that finish would have came off good. It would have been good, but I would have approached it very differently in this day and age with this current educated, beat up brain that I have now. I would have done a different finish that didn't rely on him having to be there per se. Something that he didn't have to, you know, if he forgot that it was going to look terrible. It wouldn't have been that. It would have been something I could have controlled a lot more.
Was it a TV match?
It was a TV match.
Okay.
So that footage is out there. You'll be able to track it down.
I'm sorry.
And then also one thing that I will say, because I feel like whenever I came back during the whole Edge deal, I would have also changed that promo because I thought emotionally as opposed to thinking from a character perspective too. And I went into a direction that I shouldn't have gone in, and I thought it would sound tough or hard, whatever, but it was the wrong direction. I would definitely redo that as well.
Which one are we referring to here? When you stormed the arena and you did the whole Ring of Honor thing?
Whenever Vince hired me back, I was in the ring and Vince called me out to the ring, and I did that promo.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
That one.
Okay. Gotcha. At some point, we'll get into all that stuff here on the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy. I want to get into this one, though, from Adam Carlson. He says, best sandwich you ever had?
Easy. Queen Rebecca's bacon, egg, and cheese, salt, pepper, and ketchup, and her secret sauce. Not Isaiah's, Rebecca. Rebby, Mama, your sandwich. You were the one that introduced me to it, and you have the best in the world.
Oh, she was hot about that.
Yeah, she devastated, crushed, betrayed.
Yeah, you gotta earn back those brownie points there, pal.
I don't want her to burn my house down because it's our house. You get that joke?
Oh boy, howdy do I. I guess we could tell it because she told it on the Twitch stream.
Sure, yeah.
So when I was putting together the video for Matt last week, I had texted Revy a few months ago to get the video of her and the kids. And we're talking about the video, and I was like, I'm getting all these wrestling legends and stars from all these different companies that are going to be in it. I want you guys to be in the last spot. She goes, that's okay. But there better not be any whores in it or I'll burn your house down.
Oh, too funny. And I would have loved to see you. I would love to have had a live video stream on you and just caught your reaction on your face.
We have a group chat, myself, Dom, West, and Josh, our production crew here, and I screenshot it and I just texted them. I said, "Oh boy, guys, we gotta be careful with this one. I value my property, so it was great.
Oh,
and they were my favorite part of the video. Genuinely, they were my favorite part. The House Hardy. So,
right.
Big shout out to all of them for coming through. So, okay, the bacon, egg, and cheese from her. But, we admit, Matt, bacon, egg, and cheese, I'm sure you probably find them delicious. I wouldn't be able to tell you because I'm not into that, as we know.
Yeah.
But there's some carbs in that. There's some high saturation, some fat in that. And guess what? You ain't getting any of that with Athletic Green Zone AG1.
Only the best.
Only the best. And with one delicious scoop of AG1, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source, superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you start your day right. This special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, aging, all of those things, and you don't even need to put ketchup on it. You see, it's going to cost you less than $3 a day, less than your sandwich that you're getting at your New York deli. You're investing in your health, and it's cheaper than that sandwich you got to stand in line for. Then you get the Snapple iced tea after it's cheaper than all that. It's cheaper than getting all the different supplements yourself. You're investing in all-in-one nutritional insurance. It's lifestyle friendly, whether you eat keto, paleo, vegan, dairy-free, or gluten-free, containing less than 1 gram of sugar, no GMOs, no nasty chemicals or artificial anything, while still tasting good. And it supports better mental clarity and alertness. And Lord knows, Matt Hardy, Shane Helms needs all that.
Oh my God, yes. Well, I think AG1s is the only thing saving him from dementia right now.
Oh my goodness. Well, maybe it is. Not clinically proven, but maybe it is. Who's to say?
I do have to say this. Right now, I have water in my bottle that I refilled at the gym. Before I went to the gym, I had an AG1 in this water. And AG1 is how I kick off every single day. That's the shoot.
And then he stays hydrated so he doesn't dehydrate. That's how Matt Hardy does it. That's how you should do it too with Athletic Green Zone's superfood product, AG1s. And right now it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It's just 1 scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. And to make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D. And how many free travel packs, Matt Hardy?
five free travel packs.
All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/Hardy. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/Hardy to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. And we thank them for sponsoring this podcast. Thank you, AG1s. Let's keep it rolling. Why don't we, Matt Hardy? I
want to say too, just
yeah, sure.
I want to interject real quick. This
Please.
whole thing with Shane Helms, I loved on the when all the guys were wishing me happy 30-year wrestling anniversary. I said, well, it's amazing. You really made it for 30 years considering how unathletic and how untalented, and just our bit of going back and forth insulting each other is so great.
What goes around comes around. And that, no offense, but you had that one coming.
Yeah, no, of course. No, give me the insults. I want the heat. Speaking of Booker T, I get that from him. There was one time whenever they were doing, obviously drug tests and suspensions or whatever, and I don't know what it was, and he was talking about shit. I'm working too hard. He said, I want the drug test. I want to fail. He said, give me the suspension. I want the vacate. Give me the suspension. Give me the 30. Give me the 30. And he was on the trip all day long, and I remember just dying about that.
Oh my goodness!
Once again, Booker T, a funny dude, man.
Shucky ducky, quack quack.
Yeah,
this is a good one from Gabriel. It says, "Which are your top 5 wrestling theme songs of all time?" And you can include your own if you would like to.
Oh, okay, all right, very good. I think I will. The Monster Magnet song became such a thing that I love so much, and it's crazy. It's almost iconic,
It's a genuinely good song.
Yeah, no, it is. It's a genuinely good song. Really, really, really dig it. Something that I loved so much as a kid was just Hulk Hogan's Real American too, and that really stands out. That was so catchy. I really did dig that. And Macho Man's song I thought was iconic back in the day. It's hard not to love that. I was a huge fan too of like "Where's My Mind" with Orange Cassidy, and I know they changed and got something different, but I've always loved that song since Fight Club back in the day. So I thought that was so cool, and I thought that fit really well with him with his whole persona.
One more. There's one glaring omission here, Matt Hardy. I'm waiting to see if you can come up with it.
Is this related to me or someone else?
It has somewhat relation to you.
Interesting. Are you thinking Bad Street?
I'm not, but that is a great one.
That's probably one too. That's one that stands out to me.
Brother, if I was asked this question, which I have been asked this question many times, the answer is the Brood theme 5 times. That's it.
Oh my God, yes. Oh, you're right. Let me do that. I'm going to scratch. You're right. I'm changing my answer. I'll throw that in there.
The Brood theme is Jim Johnson's greatest theme, in my opinion.
You're right. You're totally right.
The backbeat, the industrial drums, the little vampire noises over it.
It's one of those songs when you hear it, it makes you want to run through a wall.
Yeah.
Especially when you're walking out with it. It is like, it's a great preparation for a wrestling match. We're going to have all this legit contact as it is.
And I just think of Dave just bobbing his head side to side, smiling, sticking his tongue out. It's the best, man. So, Brood theme 5 times. But there's some other great ones that I love. Obviously, Austin's theme's iconic. The game theme is iconic. Do you have a favorite AEW theme currently? Shout out to Mikey Ruckus, because Mikey Ruckus rules.
Mikey Ruckus is great.
Big shout out
sure. Mikey Ruckus is good people too.
Yes.
Man. And very talented.
Very
amazing
much
what
so.
he does. He has an amazing story. Just the path that he took to get here is really incredible. He came to the Hardy compound, and we shot that Ghost Town video, which Rebby shot it, and she also edited and whatnot. It's pretty amazing. If you've never seen that, check out the Ghost Town song that was Big Money Matt's entrance.
Yes.
Music. The video is very cool too with myself and Mikey Ruckus. The one song that just fits so good, and I wasn't sure at first, but just Mox having Wild Thing is so great now, and I think it fits. I mean, just because Mox seems like a kind of like this crazy, unpredictable guy who might just do anything at a moment's notice in the ring, and that's like how he's in real life too. It's so crazy. He's a real interesting cat, and that Wild Thing, he is a wild thing, and that song fits him so great now. And I love how he's like been the heart and soul of AEW, and like I think he's been the guy, that is his carried and driven AEW more than anybody. When he comes through that crowd, just with his reactions and his unique mannerisms and Wild Things playing, that shit is amazing. That's my favorite entrance music, I think, right now.
I got a few favorites in AEW. Wild Thing's great. The FTR throwback theme, as Wes mentioned, is awesome.
It is really good.
It's awesome.
That caught on really quickly too.
Darby Allin's "I Fell," which is so perfect for him. It fits him tremendously. Kenny Omega's Battle Cry theme is one of my favorites. Yeah, I mean, and Lucha Bros Cero Miedo. That's an awesome one. So I'm into that. Good stuff there. I like when we talk music here on the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy. Yeah. Let's see. Good question from Ben here. When you decide to be done, will you retire with AEW or WWE?
I don't know. In all honesty, I can see myself retiring with AEW. I love being here. I love the family feel that it has, and I love just the lack of horseshit and bullshit. You know, it's pretty much straightforward, and Tony is really good with working with people and remembering they're human beings, and especially people that have families, and like allowing them to, you know, take time off and, you know, address issues that there may be. So he's great with that, and he works around people's schedules and whatnot. So I love AEW, and I'm very cool spending the rest of my career at AEW. You know, with that being said, I love WWE as well, and I think it's a big positive that Triple H, you know, has taken over and has been in charge. And I would imagine it's going to continue to change as it evolves over the next few years with him at the helm.
Well, we know you're going to be a Hall of Famer one day, and Armando asks, who would you like to induct you and Jeff into the WWE Hall of Fame?
I mean, to me, it just feels right if Michael Purely Sexy Hayes is the guy that inducts us. Michael P.S. Hayes. That's the fit.
I don't disagree with that in any manner. Let's see here. Ian asks, what was the biggest thing you would have liked to happen with the WWE version of Woken Matt Hardy that did just not pan out?
I think just with the shortage of talent on the roster, I feel like Vince felt like he needed to get myself and Bray on TV every week. And we were having like these really weird, like 3-minute matches where we were facing other tag teams, and like we beat every tag team in like a 3.5 minute match, you know, over the like every single week. And I feel like that kind of took away from those characters of Woken Matt and Bray, just having regular wrestling matches. I feel like those are two characters that are much more vignette driven. You know, you're in like remote locations doing unique things, whatever. And the matches are more like a special attraction. And you make them mean something, and they're longer matches, and they're important then, you know. But I feel like just being carded out every single week, you know, Bray Wyatt and Matt Hardy, the leaders of worlds, and just having like a quick 3-minute match, I felt like that wasn't doing anybody any favors. It wasn't doing our opponents favors. It wasn't doing us any favors. I felt like to continue to get those characters over, you have to like build the characters and build the personalities and put them in unique, remote, different settings.
Should have done more in the planetarium, personally, I believe.
Well, maybe that's where it all went wrong. If we had just done everything in the planetarium, it'd been over as a motherfucker.
No, real talk, guys. The Bray Wyatt Woken Matt episode, I think that might be my favorite episode of this podcast, truthfully, in terms of deep dive stuff that we've done. And you guys need to go check that out in the archives if you haven't yet, extremehardy.com. And someone that has been going to the archives is Bobby Clark, because he says, "Hey Matt, just started listening to your podcast recently. So I've been binge listening to every episode."
Thank you, Bobby.
And had a question about the Matt Rushmore episode. What are your thoughts on Bob Backlund being one of the greatest technical wrestlers ever? Bob Backlund versus Bryan Danielson would be a dream match of mine. What do you say?
That's an interesting point. I mean, Bob Backlund was a legit guy, you know, who could wrestle. So yeah, I mean, I guess in theory he could fit in there. And the only reason I would probably say he is omitted from people's list is because he was just like fundamentally strong. Like I feel like people that are scientific wrestlers nowadays do a lot more complicated, complex things, which I don't think Bob Backlund would have done that. But I enjoyed Bob Backlund when he had that last run in WWE. I really enjoyed everything he's doing, especially when he would snap and the whole chicken wing and everything else. But yeah, that's a cool answer, and I like that. And I think you've made a good point there, Bobby.
Nick Tamacheski Says, if you could go back and relive one moment in your career, what would it be and why?
There are two of the moments that stand out to me. First and foremost, that just came to my mind immediately when I hear this question is A, when we first won the tag team titles and the crowd exploded in Fayetteville, and just that was like the culmination of our dream. We had made it. We had accomplished what we wanted to accomplish. That was such a magical moment. I mean, that stands out as a moment. I would love to be able to revisit if you go to heaven and you get a moment like that, either that moment, when you die, if you've been good and this is how you're rewarded by living this great, phenomenal moment over and over and over again, or the WrestleMania 33 return when we come out and go down that ramp. That was just such a magical, surreal moment as well.
Would you just try to take that in a little more? Because I know you had to book your ass down the aisle there.
Yeah. No, if we had time and we could, I would 1,000,000% have taken our time and really let that moment sit and let it let it just be magical for as long as it could, because we definitely could have took much more time with that, and it would have just made the people even more excited.
Speaking of the APA, you saw your boy JBL return to TV this week, right?
I read about it. I didn't see it. I was actually traveling.
So there were a couple things to it. One, he was wearing very large suit pants that people were trying to figure out what happened there. So I'm going to send you a picture of it, and next week you can tell us what you think of the suit pants. But on top of that, when he showed up on TV,
was it just like one of his old suits, you think?
I don't know. I think living, in Bermuda or Aruba, wherever he's living, there's probably not a lot of tailors out there. Just being real, like that's probably the case. So, but I'll send you a picture of it as we do this episode. But on top of that, when he came out, I got so many tweets, and I think you got tagged in a lot of them.
I did see some of them, yeah.
That were like, I can't look at JBL without hearing "Well, hell."
Yeah.
So you've changed the game, Matt Hardy.
Well, hell. It's a tapestry.
He needs a tailor is what he needs. Let's see. I'm pulling this up. This is a real picture, Matt. I'm saying to you right now. If you have your phone near you, this is a real picture. This is not photoshopped, and this is not me dumping on JBL here. I'm just saying. I think he might have. He looked like he belonged in the 2003 NBA draft class with these pants here. They just came through to you. So take a look at that. Let's see what you think of JBL's outfit here. Give us a live reaction.
Oh, wow. They are big. It looks like he has on Hardy Boys pants.
He's got the kick pants.
Except they're much bigger at the thighs. Like, those are a little tight. Hardy Boys pants are just like loose and straight at the bottom, whatever. Wow, they're pretty big. Yeah. Interesting.
Well, speaking of gear, Hardy gear, Jono asked, what made you and Jeff decide on armbands? Yours solid and Jeff's cut up. You both had a very original look with your gear.
Jeff is he is notoriously famous for like just going into business for himself, whatever, right? Like he just feels something and he just does it. He doesn't really think about even telling me about it. So I remember when we first started doing that, he just like had bought these pantyhose, and I guess he had his mind, and he takes them and he's cutting them and he's making them or whatever. And I was like, are you going to wear those? And he's like, yeah, I think it's cool. I said, oh, shit, I should probably wear something. So then I did mine very simple. Mine were just, like sleeves, like long socks, and I would trim them up or whatever. And I had different ones I would wear just to somewhat. So we would look like a team in the beginning. But like once we changed up the look and we got the kickwear stuff, and once he started rocking, like he would get the pantyhose and he would cut them up in a certain way. And every single pair that you see him wear, he makes them himself. And he's got a very really strict process he does with each one. He takes his time with it, and he's very artistic about it. But then he just started wearing them. I'm like, you're wearing those? He didn't even say shit about it. And I was like, okay, I guess I should probably start wearing something too. So that is how that came to be. I just kind of, I felt like I did it just so we resembled a team in some capacity.
Medicated Trent wants to know, how come you never won the Intercontinental title in WWE? Was it another title you were interested in having a run with? Which really is amazing that you never had an Intercontinental Championship run. You had the U.S. title run, you had the European Championship, but you never won the Intercontinental title. Jeff did. Yeah. You being such a throwback classic wrestling fan, that feels like something that Matt Hardy really would have loved to have had a run with at some point.
I would have, yeah. Especially because the Intercontinental title had so much amazing WWE, WWF history. I would have loved to, and I would guess probably just more than anything, like wrong place at wrong time. I was probably on the opposite brand, or in some different program when I was never booked in a real strong Intercontinental title program that would have worked in a blow-off match with me winning. So I guess just maybe, wrong time, wrong place.
Akuma, on top of belts here, asks, what's your favorite belt design? What's your least favorite belt design? And what do you think of your brother's custom TNA title?
I would say my favorite belt design is the first ever WWE tag team titles that we won, and the ones that were circulating like in late 90s, early 2000s. I love those. I didn't like whenever they switched to like the blue and red belts of the SmackDown tag belts. I love those classic tag team titles because those are the ones when we were huge fans. We really loved wrestling, and we dreamed about having those, and then we ultimately won them, which was so super cool. I dug the Immortal title. I thought it was very Jeff. It was his art, and it fit him very well. And he was in a spot where he was getting like this major push as like this major player, and I thought it fit because that was so trendy right around that time, like personalized titles. Whenever they were doing spinner belts and whatnot. I thought for Jeff to have a personalized title there, it was pretty cool. I love the personalized iconic title too, with my silly ass face on it at Ring of Honor.
What's your least favorite championship design? Doesn't have to be one that you won. It can just be in general.
I think it is the blue and red World Tag Team titles. I thought that was a step back from the other titles. Especially the ones that preceded them, the tag titles. I thought the tag titles before them looked really, really nice, and then I think it was a step backwards.
The Divas Championship with the butterfly on it. It felt like that was a big step back for the women coming off of the Women's Championship, which I thought the old Women's Championship was a great design. And the Divas Championship, I really wasn't into that.
Solid point.
Yeah, no, the ECW title you won wasn't all too pretty either. But I know it holds a close part to your heart, so I'll let that be. Let's see. Coach Rosie says, in a perfect world, who would be the Hardy Boys' opponent in your last match?
I think in a perfect world, it's Edge and Christian. Those are the guys that we became stars with, and our rivalry is just so iconic, and I feel like that would be a pretty amazing way to end it. Have one last match with those guys.
I feel like it has to be them or the Bucks of Youth, right? It's got to be one of those two.
Yeah, definitely. One of those two, Edge and Christian or the Bucks of Youth, yes.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Let's see. We got Luke saying, Matt, is there any chance of us seeing Damascus or another type of broken persona again anytime soon? I think there's a chance. It's not out of the realm of possibility. It could definitely happen. We'll see. And it's going to be real interesting to see how this whole scenario with myself and the firm, how it ends up playing out. Let it play out. Who knows? This might could lead to me being broken. Maybe the firm pushes you to the point of breaking.
Maybe.
Who's to say? But what I love about you, and it's what Chris Jericho talked about in that video with you, is that I know that if we saw another edition of the broken character, another variant of the broken character, it would not be like what we've seen before. There would be some new twist to it. There would be something new on top of that. Why is that important to you, to have to add more layers and make it a little different than the last time we saw it?
You just always got to evolve. You always got to freshen up. You just can't you can't do reruns. That's much like how professional wrestling 52 weeks a year is like new first run content. We don't do reruns in wrestling. You always have to move the story forward. You always have to evolve. And same thing goes when you revisit a different character. And that would be the case with Broken Matt as well.
Hypothetically speaking, what might Broken Matt have to say if he were to nick himself while he was cleaning himself or shaving himself, Matt Hardy?
I think he would say, that was not wonderful.
It certainly wouldn't be, because he knows about the best product in all of space and time. They'll help you keep your balls nice and clean. You see, it's Halloween season. Michael Myers sure is scary, but the last thing you need is to be hairy this Halloween. Luckily, our friends at Manscaped launched their 4th generation performance package to make sure your pumpkins get the ultimate carving experience on this spooky day. You turn your bite-sized treat into a king-size candy and join the 6 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped by going to manscaped.com for 20% off plus free shipping with the code HARDY. Make the right call this spooky season. It's trick or trim. Have you ever tried to trim your balls and it just turned into a Freddy Krueger film, Matt Hardy?
It's not nice.
It's not.
I can say, speaking from personal experience and hearing the story and seeing the after effects, I have seen Brother Nero do that. He was trying to clean up. He was probably trying to cut designs in his balls, but he had a disaster, and I'm turning him on to Manscaped.
Well, luckily, Manscaped is here to save the day. Make sure you're feeling your best in your costume this Halloween season. You can unlock your confidence with the Performance Package 4.0, and inside you'll find the holy grail of men's grooming items that made it easy for you to upgrade. Exactly, you hear the sound. That's what happens when you go to heaven, Matt Hardy.
Yeah.
all of a sudden, the angels part ways, and you just see the Performance Package 4.0. It's a full moon out, and the werewolf in your pants is howling. It's time to tackle that problem with the Lawnmower 4.0, the mower of lawns 4.0. Their finely tuned Pew products feature a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. The Lawnmower 4.0 is easily the greatest ball trimmer on the planet. And did I mention that it is waterproof as well? This trimmer is shower essential, and it includes the Weed Whacker, the whacker of weeds, Senor Benjamin's favorite product that Manscaped has to offer. It's a nose and ear hair trimmer that provides proprietary skin-safe technology that helps prevent nicks, snags, and tugs in all those delicate holes. So right now, we're telling you here on the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy, you get 20% off plus free shipping with the code HARDY at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping with the code HARDY at manscaped.com. Say trick or treat to your beautiful new Halloweeny with manscaped.com. Queen Rebecca's a big fan of the Halloweeny, isn't she?
Oh, boy, she loves the Halloweeny. Halloweeny is her favorite season every day.
Oh, is it? Every day, huh?
Every single day.
I like that. Okay. Well, we thank them for sponsoring our podcast, and we really got to get Rebby on here for these Manscaped reads.
And we also thank Manscaped for keeping us in one piece.
Yes, absolutely. In this very, very, very spooky time of the year. Let's continue. Bo Cox brand of cosplay says, if you could choose one match from the 1980s you could compete in that you felt could add some Hardy flavor, what would it be? Obviously, don't touch Savage versus Steamboat matches like that, but ones that would be interesting enough.
I would love to inject the Hardys into a Arn and Tully and Rock and Roll Express tag match.
I like that. Maybe into an Arn and Tully versus Rockers match, perhaps.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great call too. Yeah, I love Arn and Tully versus the Rockers.
Oh, dude, the Rockers versus the Brainbusters. Yeah. You want like a lesson in tag team wrestling? Go watch those matches. Yeah. Holy moly! But remember, don't be stomping on the apron or slapping the turnbuckle. Can't have any of that because you're not over if you do any of that. Oof. Ashley Hamilton asks, if your children express interest in the wrestling business, would you encourage them or would you be wary?
Yeah, I mean, if that's something they want to do. My second oldest boy, Woofy, just recently, he said, Dad, I want to be really famous. That way I can make a lot of money. He said, I want to be really famous like you. He told me that yesterday, right before I left home. He said, Dad, I want to be really famous like you. That way I can make a lot of money. He said, I want to make Google dollars. That's what he goes to all the time. I want to make Google dollars. And yeah, I mean, if they wanted to wrestle, I would encourage it. And I feel like I could help teach them the right way to kind of like acclimate themselves for the pro wrestling business. But whatever they ultimately want to do, they're very talented in many things. Woofy's an amazing hype man. He's an amazing artist. Maxwell's just so smart around, the younger kids, which are still technically babies. They're just kind of learning their way. It's going to be interesting to see what they all become and what they end up being into. And whatever that is, I'm going to support them in whatever path they choose. I mean, and that's my gig. I don't want to like try and influence them to be wrestlers or influence them to do any single thing. I want to let them figure it out on their own. And I feel like that's my job as a father, as a parent, to be supportive, but let them figure out what they want to do on their own.
Barty's going to be the mouthpiece of the family.
Yeah, he's going to be interesting. I think Barty's going to be pretty truculent too. I think he's going to get some of that from Rebby, like ready to throw down at the drop of a hat.
One of my favorite videos of the kids is the Christmas video you guys did last year, and you're just trying to contain Barty because he's being a wild man.
Yeah.
He just starts doing the delete. He starts just chanting delete, 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 and Rebby gets right in on him, and he just goes cheese. He's gonna be the mouthpiece. I'm telling you. And I would love to see maybe Gothic Baby even finds herself trudging down that track. A Hardy baby girl.
It's gonna be interesting for sure.
Could be, and the way that women's wrestling has come along too. It'd be interesting to see that part of Team Extreme once again reincarnated, perhaps.
Right.
Mark Morris says, not including Jeff. Who's your Mount Rushmore of true friends in wrestling?
Okay. That's a good question. I would say first would be Shane Helms. You can tell we're obviously close friends the way we typically take shots at one another. I would say Shane Helms, probably William, Jason, Riso, Christian, and probably the Bucks, probably Matt, Nick Massey.
Okay, good answer.
That'd probably be my list.
I like that. I think that's a good answer. How about, by the way, Devon saying that he named his kid after you? I mean, holy moly!
Yeah, that's cool. Devon's great too. Devon is just a sweet soul, sweetheart. It's funny. My wife had finally met Devon, I think, just a while back, but she really likes Devon a whole lot too. Devon's great people, man.
I gave them the parameters: 15 seconds to 45 seconds for the videos for this. I knew some would go a little over. That's fine.
What do you want to do? 4 minutes?
3 minutes and 30 seconds. And I had to take a machete to that thing, and I felt bad, but he couldn't stop talking about how much he loved you. So I thought that was really cool.
I love you too, Devon. Love you, buddy.
That was really cool. Barbecue Dad 105. I love this question. Any good or funny stories from being in a battle royal? Battle royals are chaos.
They are. Right when we first started wrestling, early on, sometime in '98 probably, there was a battle royal I was in Cleveland, which is King is a big Cleveland sports fan, if you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And we were there, and I remember he was in the battle royal, and he had me in the corner working me over, and he was just telling jokes. And he was just talking nonsense and just like, I was like, what the fuck? Like, I'm trying to be professional in here. What's this old guy doing? And you could just tell it was like on a house show, right? 11. And I remember how mind blowing it was. Like, wow, it's cool that he like is still having so much fun doing this. And it was very enlightening. And that's probably where I realized, like, okay, well, you can see, like, especially at that time, in that day and age, especially like on a live event house show, people don't necessarily take battle royals the most serious, so just King was just like in there being a storyteller the whole while, while we were working together. And that's probably the first moment or memory that stands out. And it's like, okay, well, in these battle royals, you can kind of have fun, try and pop people.
Punch, kick, struggle in the corner, and go out on time. That's pretty much how you got to do a battle royal. That's really about it. There's a great story that Bruce Pritchard told on Something to Wrestle many, many years ago involving the 97 Rumble, which many look back at as one of the more iconic Rumbles at the Alamo Dome.
Right.
And it involved, that was the one with all the luchadors in it, and Mil Mascaras was in it.
Uh-huh.
So they told Mil Mascaras, hey, at this point, you're going to get thrown out by whatever. And he's like, okay. And I don't know if you remember the 97 Rumble, but in it, Mil Mascaras just goes to the top rope and leaps to the outside and eliminates himself. And they were like, what the fuck? Like you didn't go out, you were thrown out. What are you doing? And he just turns around and goes, no, yob. Say, wouldn't do the job. So he just eliminated himself, just sort off the top.
So did he dive out on someone?
Yeah, he just dove out on the outside of somebody. Somebody went out, and rather than getting thrown out himself, he's like, I'm eliminating myself because I'm not doing the job for anybody here.
That's fantastic.
So if you ever watch the 2000 and or the 1997 Rumble rather, then that's go watch it. It's really funny in context. So Matt,
what did he say? He said I'm not zobbing. I'm not zobbing.
No yob.
Yeah,
no yob.
Yeah. There was a guy back in the day on the indie scene in North Carolina. He said, like, I think you guys have some potential. He said, but you got to stop going to WWE and doing these damn TV matches or you're going to be branded. He said, you got to stop zobbing, brother. Stop zobbing, brother. You got to stop zobbing. And that's the terminology I brought back just recently. And half the guys in the locker room are saying that now, as opposed to saying like job or jizzob, as they would say, just zobbing. You got to stop zobbing, brother. If you guys are ever going to make it, you got to stop zobbing.
So I got to follow up here, Matt, because we got some breaking news as we record this. Some breaking AEW news, in fact.
Oh, boy. Okay.
I just got a press release in my mailbox. I want your instant reaction. Ready for this? It's good news, not bad news.
Get a real one. Okay, good.
Good news. Chris Jericho signs extension with AEW through 2025, increasing roles and responsibilities. Tony Khan announced that Chris Jericho, the Ring of Honor World Champion, leader of the Jericho Appreciation Society, has signed a contract extension through December 2025, keeping sports entertainment alive and well in AEW for the foreseeable future. Jericho will also increase his responsibilities within AEW, serving as a producer and creative advisor, in addition to continuing as a mentor to young talent. What do you think of that?
Good for him. And actually, now that you say that, I did know this was happening. I was kind of privy to this info. He's been doing this for a little while now, especially since the whole big chaotic situation went down at the pay-per-view. He has definitely stepped up and taken a big leadership role. Like him more than anybody backstage. So good for him, man. And Chris Jericho is the perfect guy for the job too.
What do you think he can add as a producer and creative advisor for the AEW team currently?
I just think Chris Jericho is so multi-talented, and he understands different. He understands how to do sports entertainment. He understands how to do wrestling. He understands character work. He understands if you're a Danhausen type character, how to portray that and optimize it and get the most out of it. He understands if you're a very serious wrestler like a Bryan Danielson, he realizes how to get the most out of that. And that's something I think is hugely beneficial because you have a lot of guys that are great wrestling minds, but they only kind of like did one gig. And I feel like when you've done so many different gigs and you've been serious, you've been able to create drama, you've been able to create comedy, you've been able to draw money, and you know what you have to do to make something work. I feel like Chris is the epitome of that.
And on top of that, AEW needed Chris Jericho for the launch. They needed Chris Jericho.
100%.
They needed someone with that WWE credibility.
Dude,
and he gave it.
Chris Jericho is the same as Hulk Hogan was whenever WCW got hot. I mean, he was the guy that was just that people knew, probably the biggest household name they could get their hands on. And just super beneficial, dude. Chris Jericho goes down in the conversation as one of the GOATs, without a doubt. I mean, he's one of my close, dearest friends as well. But he is just so amazing, and the fact he's been able to keep himself in that top position for so long is a credit to how talented he is.
A blank asks, do you think that you should have won the Impact World Championship during your Broken era? You pretty much put Impact Wrestling on notice during that time, and in our archives, you can check out our Becoming Broken series at extremehardy.com. So you had the title leading up to you becoming broken, but should Broken Matt Hardy have had a run on top as champion?
Well, the big storyline we were kind of doing was changing Jeff's character to a degree. And when he ended up becoming Brother Nero, we were kind of like focused on tag team stuff. Mm-hmm. And, if we'd stayed around, and I've told this story a bit, but if we would have stayed around in Impact, which initially we were going to do until like the whole Jeff Jarrett scenario happened, we were going to be working with the Young Bucks in an interpromotional feud between Ring of Honor and Impact Wrestling. Obviously that didn't happen. But there had been talk. I know I'd pitched this because I had a lot of input in the creative and booking and everything at that time, especially pre Jeff Jarrett and Anthem stuff. Even when Anthem first took over, I was still saying a lot until Jeff Jarrett really kind of came in as the head. But there was an idea that I put out there. I said, if we finish up this thing with the Bucks, and there is a chance where Broken Matt is pushed to go to a title again or whatever when we do it. I said, I think it should just be a short run because Broken Matt doesn't need a championship, really. He's not like a championship character. But I thought a good guy that I could have made with Eli Drake was real hot at that time, too. And I remember saying, like, I think if we do something where I win the title, because it was thrown around and talked about because they, obviously I was very over at that time. I said, I don't think I need a title for a long time. Broken Matt is like over, I said, but like, I think we could make someone, be a world champion. And I know Eli Drake was the guy I'd kind of like, thrown out there that I thought would be good to make it to like a top tier guy.
You a big LA Knight guy?
Yeah, I don't stay in contact with him regularly or not, but I know that got over really well. It kind of piggybacked off, the LA Knight, the Eli Drake deal. But he really projects this great confidence and this conviction whenever he's doing his character. And he's really talented, and he was really smart in how he put his shit together.
Oh, he's got chops. He can talk into a building. He can really, really talk. And he did a lot for your boy Cameron Grimes, who just made his debut on Monday Night Raw this past week. What do you make of that?
Congratulations, Trevor. That's very, very cool. I mean, I knew there'd been some buzz about him doing that, and he felt very optimistic that he'd be called up to the main roster very soon. So I'm just happy and proud for him, man. And I know his dad, my buddy Tracy, is smiling wherever he is right now.
No doubt. Let's get a few more in here. Let's take Macho Man out of the equation here. Is there anyone from wrestling's past that Matt wishes he could have a match with, dead or alive? This comes from Art.
Yeah. Now that you say that, I would have loved to have had whenever Michael Hayes was a Freebird in the NWA. I would have loved to have had it. He won the U.S. title one time from Lex Luger, which I remember was like a big upset. I would have loved to have had a match against that Michael Hayes in my prime. That would have been a lot of fun.
Alexandra Schultz asks, what is the craziest adventure you've had when traveling?
I
feel like that changes on a weekly basis for you.
It really does. One of the craziest stories and just travel experiences. Do you remember back? It was like in the late 2000s when the
volcano.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, have I told you the story?
We covered it on the ECW episode where the roster had to pivot and everything because of the volcano.
Yeah, because they couldn't get out because of the volcanic ash, and Raw was grounded. And if SmackDown hadn't have got back to, I want to say we're in Jersey. I'm not sure. We somewhere around the New Jersey, New York area. We got back and we ended up doing the Raw show. Like it just there wouldn't have been any talent because everybody was over there. But we had canceled the last show we were going to be doing. It was in Turkey, if I'm not mistaken, and we had to drive. It ended up being 24 hours. The whole travel schedule. We had to drive to the southernmost point of Italy. That's the only place we could get out. Or no, southernmost point of Spain. One or the other. But we had to drive. We were in a car for. It was like a shuttle. There was a little bus and then like a shuttle, and we were going up and down these hills, and they could barely make it up and down these hills. We were on the road for like 14 hours. And then getting in a plane and chartering back over. We barely made the flight last minute, and we ended up traveling for 24 hours. And we hadn't slept. We were just coming off doing a house show the night before, and then walked straight into TV and did Raw 3 or 4 hours later. I mean, it ended up being like I was, guys slept whenever they could, but it was like a nonstop go for almost 40 hours, almost 2 days, which was insane.
That is wild. And so everyone's just going right to the arena from getting off the plane?
Yeah. Yeah. Go through customs, get your shit, go straight to the building.
Those Tuesday night Titans becoming Monday night Warriors.
Oh, boy.
How about that? That's yikes. That's interesting. Gio asks, would you do a program with someone from NWA? And if so, who would you like to work with? Very good.
I almost I thought about I loved some of the stuff Billy had done, even some of the stuff that let me think.
Nick Aldis and you could have a fun little match there.
Yeah, Nick Aldis is probably the person I would say first and foremost, and
Matt Cardona, perhaps.
Matt Cardona, yeah, and I was going to say Trevor Murdoch is someone I know he had the title there for a second. I know Matt Cardona is kind of like he's working the territories, brother. He's like all over the place, but I think myself and Nick Aldis would be an interesting match, especially if it was like a big money Matt type character person. I think that'd be intriguing.
What are your thoughts on Nick Aldis, formerly Magnus in TNA? Always had a good look, pretty good talker, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, he's always looked like $1,000,000, and he's very solid, fundamentally strong, very solid. I always got along great with him.
Yeah, I was always surprised he never got that call from WWE. Maybe because he's not a very tall guy, right?
No, he is.
He is? Okay,
Yeah.
so then that's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it is surprising that he never ended up at least being with WWE for a minute. It is fascinating. It's interesting.
Let's get 3 more in here, Matt, then we'll wrap it up. David Lindsay, and by the way, I just want to say we got so many questions and we're so grateful because we needed to pivot at the last minute here because
Thanks,
Matt
guys.
and I are taping this on a Tuesday rather than Wednesday because of the Tuesday Dynamite. So thank you for all your help in getting these questions in, guys. David Lindsay Jr. says, "Hi, Matt. I would imagine being a household name in pro wrestling has caused plenty of fans to freak out when they meet you, but is there anyone who has caused you to have a fanboy freak out moment?"
I don't think I physically freaked out, but I would definitely say
Internally.
in my mind, internally, I was super excited. Whenever I met Eddie Vedder with Pearl Jam, them being one of my favorite bands, and just getting able to go backstage and kind of sit and hang out with the band a little bit when we got some nice treatment.
How'd that happen? When did that happen?
Stone Gossard had I want to say it was a nephew that was a big fan, and they were going to take care of him and hook him up for tickets in WrestleMania, whatever. So whenever we were in Seattle for WrestleMania 19, and Stone Gossard and his nephew and whoever their family, they end up coming. So in return, Pearl Jam set it up so that we could go out and see the band and like go backstage and meet the band and hang out with them. And that was in Charlotte, North Carolina. So that was a very cool experience. But it was just like Eddie Vedder was like, and I just remember saying, like telling the story afterwards, like, yeah, he was like in his gimmick, like sipping on a little bit of red wine. Oh, it's so nice to meet you. Like very, very, very much in character, It was like, it was a super cool moment.
Did Eddie follow wrestling or no?
No.
No. Okay. All right. That's still put on the character, as you said, and roll.
I mean, very much spoke slowly and like very cool, like cool as a cucumber. Like, very much like
I got you.
You got to be working the gimmick a little bit.
Sure, of course. Actually, I'm going to ask 3 more now. Joshua David Greenblatt says, "You seem very happy in AEW. I wish you and your brother nothing but the best. But with that said, growing up in WWE with Triple H in a sense, let's say a regime change had happened 2 years ago rather than this year, would we still have the Hardys in WWE, do you think?"
I don't know. That would have changed a lot of things. That's a very interesting what if question. And all I can really do is focus on reality. And the reality is I'm in AEW and I'm loving it, and I really enjoy my time here.
Steve Duff, pretty heavy question here, but I know you never shy away from that. So he says, "I found that using grief of the ones I've lost is fuel to accomplish my goals and push myself. For you, did the experience of losing your mom so early on, was she a source of motivation? Is the loss of your father a source as well? My condolences as well. I lost my mother when she was 48, lost my identical twin brother, whom you may remember, and my father last year. I'm the last man standing, so grief has become a prime motivator."
Yeah, our mother definitely. I mean, our mother was more influential than anyone else on our early development, for sure. Like with her passing, I'll never forget. It was the first time I ever saw my dad cry. I didn't see him cry a lot, only a couple times. And I remember we were there at her bedside whenever my mom passed, and it was the first time I ever saw my dad cry and shed tears. And it was like a huge moment. Obviously, a huge moment knowing that our mother was gone. But he said, what our mother would want is for us to pick things up and keep moving on. That's what she would want. She would want us to keep moving forward and keep doing our thing. And that's what we did. And like, we were just very driven to lead a good life and also to try and be good people. And she was a huge motivation behind that, and that's, I feel like that was a huge driving point that allowed us to work hard and bust our ass. And it kept us very disciplined too. Like, and I feel like that's a huge reason we made it. Yeah. And with our dad, it was a little different, because we got he was almost with us for 89. He was almost 89 whenever he passed away. He would have been 89 this last year, his birthday. Sorry, 2021, whenever he passed. But like, we knew he was going to be passing away, and we made the most out of it. Like we made sure we knew he had a very limited amount of time left. So we had all those conversations we needed to have. We wrapped things up with him, and we said our goodbyes and our farewells, and we talked about how much we've enjoyed him and appreciated him in life. And, we just thank him for everything he did for us. And we had closure to it.
Yeah.
And I feel like that was very important in that scenario, because that's something that we didn't really get with our mom, so it was nice to get that closure. But yeah, I feel like you have to use all experiences in your life, and grief is one of them. You can either let it tear you down and destroy you, or you can use it to motivate you and try and be better, for that person that you've lost. So I do agree that grief is a motivating factor, but I think any experiences you experience in life, whether it's good or bad, you have to look at the positives that come out of it and focus on them and move forward with those positives on your back.
Did you get a chance? I know you like Marvel. Did you get a chance to watch WandaVision by chance?
I haven't.
No. So there's a great scene in it, which I think is like literally one of the greatest lines ever written in a TV show,
right,
where Wanda is mourning the loss of Pietro, her brother, and Vision comes down, sits next to her. He's trying to get an understanding of why she's so sad. And she's trying to explain to him, she lost her brother, all that. And he says, what is grief, if not love persevering? And what he means by that is,
yeah,
you are so sad and it's awful grief, but you are feeling sad because you had a chance to love something so much or love someone so much. There is something to take to heart with being able to have experienced that love for someone or love for something, and you should value that. And I just thought that was such a really great approach to dealing with grief.
That's a very strong, strong statement. It's beautiful too.
Yeah. So shout out to WandaVision there, and condolences to you, Steve, and all the best to you.
Yes, condolences, Steve. Thank you for sharing, buddy.
Last question here on this Ask Matt Anything V4 episode. Drew Peterson, any thoughts on life after your pro wrestling career's over?
I would imagine in some capacity, after I stop wrestling and I'm an in-ring competitor, I would imagine I'll do something backstage. I feel like I have a couple things I could contribute to the wrestling industry. So I would imagine I would do that, but I'm definitely excited about spending a lot of time with my kids, my family. Maybe whenever I stop wrestling in-ring consistently, take some trips, travel the world a little bit, get them out, let them see things. I feel like that's part of the reason I've worked so hard. Not only do I want to do this to try and have as nice of a life as I can have, but I also want to try and set my kids up ahead of time too, to give them like a head start, something that I never had. But I would also like them to kind of experience some of the traveling I've done and see some of the sites too. Like I think that's an important part of being cultured, seeing different parts of the world, meeting different people. As Queen Rebecca said last week, take 2 weeks off and retire. Yeah, her advice. So once again, that's a very famous quote that I would say to her typically, but Undertaker would say that to people. And this is a very famous take quote back in the day. They'd say, "Oh, do you have any advice you really give me?" Like a young guy, if they would come up to him, and he would sarcastically say, "Yeah, I got some great advice from you. You should take 2 weeks off and quit the business." Well, thankfully, Matt Hardy has not done that to date, and we can celebrate his career here on the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy. Cheers. Cheers to you, good sir. I've got an empty can of ginger ale here, so there you go. But I am grateful, very grateful for all of our fans this week for sending in all these amazing, amazing questions. Indeed. And there is one way that the fans can really support this show every single week, Matt, and what is that? They can leave us that 5-star review. I noticed the other day between Spotify and Apple Podcasts, we're about to surpass 1,000 5-star reviews, which is pretty incredible. So keep them coming. We are whores for 5-star reviews. We can have outstanding, young man.
We will be doing another t-shirt giveaway soon, boxinggimmicks.com. So send us your 5-star reviews on Twitter at Matt Hardy Pod, Matt Hardy Brand, Jon Alba, Instagram, wherever you want to send it. Let us know that you have left us that 5-star review, and you will be entered to win a free t-shirt courtesy of the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy. And yes, my friend, all the best to you this week. Hope Ethan Page and Stokely Hathaway don't run you too far into the ground with Private Party.
Oh, boy. I just don't know what to expect this week.
If there's anything for sure about Matt Hardy, it's that nothing is for sure. Except that the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy drops every single Friday with early access on adfreeshows.com. The words have been spoken. We'll see you next week right here on the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy.
Adios, mi amigos.
Deletion!